Alright, hello and welcome back to the Greatest Attorney Chronicles. Tonight we're going to be starting the second of the two games that are in this package. The Adventure of the Unspeakable Story, Port of Dover, Select Adventure to play. Select Adventure, wait, The Great Departure, Episode 1, Unspeakable Story, Adventure of Great Departure. Huh. Oh, that's right. The Greatest Attorney 2 Resolve. We're going to just dive right in. Hopefully we see our old buddies.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those days in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital. You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court. Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
Found myself faced with another awful crime. It's her.
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer.
She was murdered.
So please, I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
Interesting. Episode 1. Adventure of the Blossoming Attorney. August, 8:26 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendant's Antechamber. 3. Here I am again after 9 months, the Supreme Court of of Japan. I feel so nervous. I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Ah, good you're here. Doesn't do good for a lawyer to be late. Oh, yes, good morning, sir. Hardly recognize you. You've cut a fine figure, counsel. But you look as white as a sheet. And those wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. The truth is, I am so incredibly nervous, I feel utterly nauseated. Almost wish that I'd never been born. Oh goodness, not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Eugene Mikotaba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. A man who, earlier in his life, traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical medicine. And of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me. Would I be correct in thinking that you were to be my lawyer in court today? Oh, yes, that's right. Miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear it's a complete fabrication, the whole thing. Ray Mimani, born the same year as I and my greatest friend. Though unusual for a woman of our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory, helping my father. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, you've become a little flushed. Oh my, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. When I fall under intense gaze, it makes me feel bashful. I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. Wahaha! Let's see my little plan for this trial is going to work. What do you mean, Professor Mikutaba? If even your best friend can't suit disguise, I think we could relax. Disguise? I've never tried it the day before, of course. I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. This does make me believe, as you say, Father. Father? Oh, guys, right now. It makes sense, because it takes place at the turn of the 1900s. Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry. It's just that... No, what are you doing? What's going on? First uniform, first cap, that badge. Look at you. You look for all the world like a student to the Imperial University, a male student. Precisely. At the time frame this game takes place in, they would not allow a woman to have be a lawyer, so she has to be in disguise. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke up 4 this morning to make a start. Oh, but I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see, it was the only way. Yeah, the only way you should be permitted into the Supreme Court to take your defense this trial. My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated about having been born to this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not allowed to set foot inside the... Oh, this was actually in the first cases of the last game as well. Despite the fact that lawyers of the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. Oh, but women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, no such lengths for me? Of course. You're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. Oh no, I have complete faith in you, Ray. It's so strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet, just because you're a woman, what a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Ray, please don't look at me like that with those flushed cheeks and doting eyes. Oh, I'm so sorry, you really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased. I think it's certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Ray, you're managing to put on a brave face and all this, but I can see right through it. I've noticed how your shoulders are slumped, how you're trembling ever so slightly. Susato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. Absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence. Which will I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer, after all. That means so much to me, Susato. Defendant, counsel. For the record, if this case ends up being as long as the case in the first game, I probably will split it in half because the first game's trial lasted way longer than I was expecting. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. You should go at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh, stand aside! I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you certainly surprised your father, going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom, and with no prior experience of being a proper lawyer. There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But Father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this. Yes, quite right. I kept that information from her. I would only worry her if she found out no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true, the reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case is really because of who the victim was? We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student. Thank you, Father. I'm Suzato Mikutaba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain, but 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. Alright, so this is a decent time skip from before. How many times have I wished that he were here, I wonder? Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. I hope they make Renosuke's animations a bit more confident in this game. After all, even if he hasn't had too many cases, he should feel a lot more confident himself now. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. August, 9 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Courtroom 1. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Rei Membani. Prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Oh, dang. That's a really nice outfit. Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready. Ready. Now she's now in the same eyes darting about like with Rinosuke. Oh, yes, counsel. According to your registration deals, your name is, Ryutaro Naruhodo, is that correct? Sorry. Oh, yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you in this little venture. So I'm afraid to say I simply put down the first name that came to mind. Well, Consul? Yes, that is correct. That's me. I'm Ryutaro. He who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan. Ah. It seems Ryutaro may need to consider how to better uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. And those wild, wide eyes aren't doing any favors either. Just relax and listen. A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be? You may be thinking of Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of a study program. This is his cousin. His cousin? That's right, Ryutaro here has been studying the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in the matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's preeminent lawyers. Any of them... what a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call in a country boy. Oh, that's the dog in the background here. Not sure if it's being picked up by the stream, but it's like clockwork. Goes for a big drink, needs to be let out, and then let back in a little later. So I'll be doing that in just a moment. Give me a moment, please. Alright, I'll need to let him back in later. It's getting colder out where I live, so he'll probably be back soon. Or almost immediately. Okay, I guess I was more right on the nose than I expected when I said it was a bit too cold out there for the dog. Oh well, they're back in the house, rest assured. How dare you! I was every bit as gallant and dashing as any took attorneys. I won't ever making fun of him. Please be careful, Ray. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge defending you? It is skittish eyes very much suggest he is not. I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo-san has to go through. Like it or not, eyes are want to move. The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may very well affect the very future of our empires. Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet for proceedings of such importance, we have this, an unknown yokel by the dock? Dear me. Well, I mean, you're not exactly the biggest prosecutor that Japan has to offer. I don't even have to know who the others are to know that the ancestor of Winston Payne is not going to be especially... Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense, to determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice this courtroom. Alright, 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now, the same judge tested him as well. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this should be easy. Yeah, it won't even let me check the court record until it unlocks it with this one. So, counsel, do you consent to answer simple questions? Yeah, the judge's voice and her father's voice are a bit too close. Alright, it's time to prove myself. I'm doing the exact same Naruhodo pose. Yes, Your Excellency, but please do make them simple. Very well, to start with, you will state the name of the victim. Phew, that was simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. What's the matter? Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are want to blank. It's not surprising. It's not surprising, really. It's our first time in this position and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances. Oh dear, this is a dismal failure. Don't fret. You'll need to use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem. Of course, the court record. Yes, the answer will be among all the key information about the case in the court record. That is right. Just use E to open it. You'll need to flip to the People section with E. And don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely. Alright, check the court record with E. That's where all the information would be. I'm waiting, Counsel. I'm waiting, Counsel. Let's see. What's the postmodern report? Yep, Giselle Brett. A British woman who was found to be the true perpetrator of who murdered John H. Wilson. And unfortunately ascertained by examination of witness statements. Single deep stab wound piercing a lung and resulting fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Notes extreme mutable constriction was observed in the victim in both eyes. That's going to be important. What is the name of the victim in this case?
Yes!
Yes. Just like Naruhodo did in the first case. The name of the victim who lost her life in this case was Miss Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett. A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. That is correct. Being a member of our empire's judiciary, you'll be well aware of the significance of that name. So let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was the visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then was her name indelibly associated with our own empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago, but if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record. Victim of the case was a former British student. 9 months ago, she was found guilty of the murder of visiting Professor John Wilson, but she never saw the courtroom due to, politics. Lead prosecutor of this case, who appears to be struggling to accept the challenges afoot and the result of the turbulent new times in Japan, the Meiji era. Yeah, I believe this is when basically when the days of the samurai were finally coming to a close. Japan began opening the borders, and a whole new revolution of changes came across, improving things like never before. I sound like a history book, don't I? it might not even all be correct now that I think about it. I'd have to look it all up. So, yeah, don't take my word as law. Ironically, given this game's theme. Ray, my best friend, works as an assistant to my father in his laboratory. She's the defendant in this case. Eugene, a medical professor, his authority in forensic medicine, in charge of the university's laboratory. He also happens to be my father. Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett, behind the woman's student persona, was the face of a killer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University was killed, and the culprit was Giselle Brett herself. Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain, and it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe it was an associate of yours, Professor Kataba? Oh, that's the judge saying that. Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor for when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense and exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction to play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our own empire's laws. It was decided she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Why Shanghai? There's a British consul there. Correct, I oversaw the negotiation personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board the steamship. And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed. On only the day before, whoever it was didn't want her talking. That will do. I'm satisfied with the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant. Thank you, Your Excellency. Well, I'm over the first hurdle. Now, summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Archie. As is your wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th of August in broad daylight. On the outskirts of the Imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside of a small beach hut, erected for the bathers to rest or change their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung. An injury which proved fatal. And there were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett, in her bathing attire, and the accused, Ray Membi. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when considered she had a powerful motive. You see, the police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady. Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say. It's certainly true. The prosecution's summary was full of words that raised an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about a powerful motive. You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement. That That is the yokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand. I beg your pardon? No matter. Let's put this to the accused, shall we? Mimbani-san, you are a research assistant at the Imperial University, I believe. Yes, hey. I'm working with Professor Mikutaba in his laboratory at the moment. I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility. Fascinating to hear. Now another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikutaba, whose research were you assisting then? Oh, I was studying under John H. Wilson. Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago. It's a highly circumstantial case, but it's a strong circumstantial case. Well, they may not, even if they don't have hard evidence, the fact that they don't have anyone else there, and the fact that she had a connection to the victim that Miss Brett had murdered does make a strong case by itself. The accused had a deep-seated respect for a former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the courts what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishwoman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done, a powerful hatred. Oh no, Ray, be careful what you're saying. The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency. Well, it was clearly all along. How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for a former mentor against her like that. I must find out more details and something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution on what he said about, bathing spot. If I may, Prosecutor Archie. Oh, what do you want? Fresh-faced young yokel? I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot. My apologies, clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, excellent for the skins. No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, for all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For all time's sake, I believe. Sorry. Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply. Oh, but on what grounds would we agree to such a request? Because as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal. Don't look at me, Professor. The government granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided. Unfortunately, there were also some drawbacks to what happened, to the changing times. It was pretty tumultuous in general. Well, I guess that kind of goes without saying. I mean, it was the end of the samurai after all. That's not going to go very easily. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong. But in fact, a murder took place. I said don't look at me. It was a young student girl who did it, not I. Hey, no one's proved that yet. I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. At this stage, I need to gather more information, I think. Mimbani-san. Yeah, was it Suza? Naruhodo-san. I'm really starting to wish I'd made my alias I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryutaro Suzato. Alright, please tell the court exactly why you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place, and why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present. A detective was guarding Miss Brett for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. Well, let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in that hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there's only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life. Man, you can tell he's a lawyer because he loves using these really big $5 words that nobody would use in everyday conversation. because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. The accused would never have had an opportunity to dispatch her again. Kindly refrain from conjecture, Counsel. I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration, instead continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murder of a mentor whom she had great respect, enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yeah, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition. You can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment. But that's the thing, why not murder her before now, when she had an easier chance? After all, she knows the university rather well. Theoretically, she could have made a better one. Poor Ray. Sorry, Your Excellency. You'd be so kind as to peruse this exhibit. A photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident. Thank you, Counsel. A tragic image. Interesting, she has a glass. She could have been poisoned, I guess. No, they wouldn't reuse the same poison thing again, but... As you can clearly see, it is nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden. I disagree. Let's see that giant dress. Alright, the court will accept this photographic print of evidence. Photographic print of the crime scene. Alright, as I understand it then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt does firmly point to the defendant. Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses of the crime, and damning evidence. What witnesses? But, ooh. One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt. Very well then, Counsel, bring forth your witnesses. Xiaoqi, I've been waiting for this moment. I'm sorry? Oh yes, I haven't forgotten. That trial 9 months ago, here in this very courthouse. And that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me. Ah, Ryanosuke Naruto. Yes. It's an insult to the Aochi family name and will never be forgotten. You become conceited with age, Counsel, but the old... Just stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut and the bell of cultural enlightenment rose. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died. The start of your own mini-Meiji revolution. Are you modernizing as well, Counsel? Silence. Since I swore revenge back then, there's been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Achi growth. You see the seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown. I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. Oh, I'm afraid I can't really see it. Where's the hope exactly? I said silence. Today I face another yokel student in the Naruto clan. Well, I will vanquish you, and my victory will be the fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. And with that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand. Looks like the higher stakes are high on both sides of this trial. Prosecution and the defense each has much to lose. A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life. Both from the last game. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations of the court. Chief Inspector Satoru Hasanaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. And I am Will, the next big thing in books. The author renowned throughout the capital, in fact, yes. Soon to be sold out, the satirical I Am Cat. Sensational success by Soseki Natsume. Oh my goodness. Struggling student from the provinces, please. You need to be an army. I needn't? Don't feel nervous in my presence, but all of you, please, just call me Soseki even. Yes. What on earth is Soseki-san doing here? Read carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? He exposed you for who you really are. This will be over before it's even begun. Yes, of course, I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so it's been since I last saw him. As for Inspector Hasanaga, that amazing outfit is, hard to believe. Do I have something on my face? Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either. Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, isn't it? I thought appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for more faithful testimony. It's my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present, but what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Soseki-san? Ah, well, you see, I've been asked that day to give a lecture. On the morning of the incident, the Imperial Yume University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. At Yume University? After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the Medical Science Department. Professor over there, in fact, with Professor Mikutaba. Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story about 2 former students who'd studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy, snap shots, scribble stories, and never ruin my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much. Practically threw that paper at me. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance, of course. At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek advice. The response was permit Miss Brett to go as long as the detective accompanies her. The detective I am at liberty to divulge is me, Chief Inspector Huss. Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity from the beach. But fortunately, I am at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly. Oh my, Inspector, you have something on your face now. Oh yeah, he was sick, or whatever it is before. It seems to have the, unfortunately, since this is the second of the 2 games, I imagine he may meet his end before the end here. Because he has the anime coughing up blood sickness, which is usually pretty fatal. Does that mean you went to the beach too, Father? No, fortunately, I had to work to finish off. Unfortunately, of course, it does mean that as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. But if only I had, I've never seen that awful sight. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. Very well. I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will now give an account of all you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast. Of course, Your Excellency. We should probably take a look at this newspaper, because it probably has something, Oh. No, I can't examine it quite yet. Although there's a neat little ad here, I guess, for bicycles. He has a new cat. Oh yeah, he snuck the kittens from his old cat with him into the ship. Interesting, what's this, though? There's glass? The camera lens is broken? A discussion A newspaper article contained an article about a discussion between my father and Saseki-san. The debate became quite spirited. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret I am. Witness testimony. There's probably no faces this time because I'm only playing as Susato for the purposes of this tutorial, since Reinosuke is a bit too experienced to be needing to go through everything again. The witness scene. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran to the beachhead at once where I found the pair in question. Yes, that young girl was astride the human dagger in hand as she stabbed wildly. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she had stabbed the victim multiple times. Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it the very moment of this heinous crime. But wait, the autopsy report. A single stab wound, though, so how is she pierced multiple times? Very moment of the heinous crime. What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes, this was it, damning evidence. Have you there, counsel, a so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found out the scene while examining the body. It appears in her dying moments with a final ounce of strength. The victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What? Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more. Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim's clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Ah, the owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R&M. Raymond Bonnie? The initials of the defendant. Ah, no! This fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence. So, have I omitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel. I don't understand. The prosecutor, or Ochi 9 months ago, had none of this man's poise. Counsel of the defense may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodos. Oh, yes, me. Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom? Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom. President Ryutaro, pull yourself together, please. I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant, finding inconsistencies in the witness testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle cross-examination. So let's see what I can do. Cross-examination. The witness scene. Day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise.
Hold it!
In that, jaunty disguise? Correct. Wait, no, I mean, it wasn't the first time I've worn the swimsuit for a dip in the ocean. It's tried and tested. Do what must be done to keep the Englishwoman under surveillance. Those are my orders that day. And this tried and tested outfit was the answer. Being able to blend flawlessly into a crowd is an important part of a detective's job. I submerged myself in salty water, leaving only Mr. Turtle floating inconspicuously above the surface. Mr. Turtle loves the water. Oh, but there was no need for you to blend in the background. This assignment really was there. If that made you late for arriving on the scene, I think perhaps you had your priorities wrong. Ahem. Perhaps I shouldn't pursue this line of questioning any further at the moment. I just managed to catch the crab when I subsequently heard...
Hold it!
What, crab? You're describing the victim's scream, presumably, Soseki-san? In more literary terms, I say it was a scream that could have pierced the heavens. Kuya! Or the, like... Of course, that's just a metaphor we renowned authors are wont to describe as anything so. Soseki-san wasn't at all like this in England. Anyway, I spun around at the noise, and the beach hut immediately fell under my gaze. Yes, the beach hut. The area is popular with government ministers. Many have seaside retreats there for rest and recuperation. Locals are prohibited from entering the area, so it's always quiet. Beach hut is a simple structure, erected as a place for people to change or take refuge from the sun. Although the Englishwoman commandeered the hut for herself, which meant that I was forced to change my swimwear on the sand. I imagine that was rather embarrassing for you. Well, anyway, I tossed the crab aside and headed for the beach hut at a run. Or in more literary terms, I decrabbed and beetled off to the heat. I ran to the beach hut at once where I found the pair in question.
Hold it!
Wait, by pair, you don't mean to say... How could that be? No, you must understand. Obviously, I mean the victim and the defendant, and Bonnie-san. Oh, it would have been helpful if you could have just said that from the outset. Jump to conclusions, you have to expect to fall flat on your face sometimes. Dear me, pinning your hopes on such an outside chance. Foolish, very foolish. It really was an outside chance, I just wish I'd realized that before I said something silly. So, Inspector, why don't you tell the court who exactly found the aforementioned pair in the hut? Well, it was a sorry sight, a really grisly scene. Part of the curtain hanging in the doorway, and step inside when you see the defendant leaning menacingly over the lifeless body with the victim's fall in the sand. My glasses nearly cracked at the ominous sight met before my eyes. How thoroughly appalling. It doesn't appear to be lying here. Alright, Suzuki-san, can you confirm what Inspector Asanaga is saying? You'd like a literary man's opinion? Yes, that young girl was astride the Englishwoman.
Hold it!
Stabbed wildly. You actually saw her do it? Oh, indeed. Terrible Urban... Mother's torment. What? Every sight and sound is still carved in my melancholy memory. That was my impression, at least, as a future literary sensation. Your counsel, what on earth was that shrill, effeminate scream? Oh, no, what are you insinuating? I'm as manly a Japanese man as you. I wonder if I might interject here, Soseki-san. Something you said is troubling me. That was my impression, were your words just now, I believe. So do you mean to say you're not confident you really did see what you described? No, yes, I know what I saw. My ears didn't deceive me when I heard that scream, hence my eyes didn't deceive me either. I could describe everything I saw vividly. I could publish all in tomorrow's newspaper editorial. Sounds as though the next installment of I Am a Cat may take a more macabre turn. I think this is a fool's errand. The more we press your author friend on what he saw, the more entrenched she's gonna become. Oh dear, how awkward. So blown the blade, it proved to me that she'd been stabbed the victim multiple times. But we know from the autopsy report, a postmortem report, I'm sorry.
Objection!
That can't be the case. Objection. With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside of me, I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed. Well, what's the meaning of this menacing pose, counsel? I'd like the witness to clarify something for me. Who? What? Where? When? Oh. Not to you, Suzuki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hasanaga. At me. In your statement just now, you said the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said, when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, blade knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What? Get to the point, please, counsel. In the postmortem report, it clearly states, The victim was stabbed one time only. Ah. In other words, Inspector Asanaka's testimony is clearly flawed. And Soseki-san, me, claimed to have seen Membai's on the throes of stabbing the victim. Yes, I did. I did wildly. But both of you and the inspector confirmed the same point. There was already blood on the knife when you saw the defendant holding. Yes, and? It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once, therefore, there's no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. True. What exactly is your contention, Counsel? Are you ever going to tell us? Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. Yeah, Ray must have seen the knife and pulling it out. Entirely, it could have been that she thought the murderer was still around and decided to try and protect herself by taking the knife, only to not realize what that would do. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. That is, someone grabs a murder weapon simply because they're afraid the murderer might still be around, not realizing that implicates them. What Soseki-san in fact saw was not the moment the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. That can't be. Excellent work, Suzato. You exploded them with an objection and proceeded to pull them apart standing.
Objection!
Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in the trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection, attempting to steal the show. You're right, there were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who was only half a head of hair. Slander, my head is quite adequately dressed. In any case, all this talk of stabbing, withdrawing, and multiple wounds makes not a bit of difference. What? Why not? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged a deadly weapon at the victim, that was the fatal blow. And that was the moment, just as it had withdrawn, ready for an next strike the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused already stabbed the victim. All you've successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance. That's still a big deal, well, because if he is exaggerating his testimony a lot, that's unreliable. I'm in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion. But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back to where we started. I'm sorry? Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too. Prosecution demands an explanation, and it better be good. Why did Ray pull out the knife? Ah, yes, going for the jugular. What does father mean by that? Let the court hear your answer then, counsel. The truth is, I don't really know, but I have to come up with a plausible reason here. We don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so that she could... It could also be that she was... honestly, I don't think any of these are especially good, but I guess it could have been to try and stop the bleeding. According to the Postmodern Report, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence, it clearly indicates her killer. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Mamani-san was compelled to act when faced with a wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young yokel. Indeed. Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may. Speak, witness. I'd like another opportunity to testify in respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the young defense counsel, I mean. What? An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel, hopeful as the modicum of knowledge when it comes to law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense. Go, Inspector, I'll permit your request. Looks like I still pluck... Hey, good job on the case, have you been? Hello, Money Plays. I've been doing well, and we actually managed to complete the first game in the last few streams. Those are all saved on Twitch's archive, if you want to check my past streams. But here we're now starting the second game, because Ace Attorney Chronicles has 2 games in it. Ace Attorney Adventures 1 and 2, and this one here is a direct sequel to the first one. This is just the first case, though, so it's mostly just a recap for anyone jumping in here. Basically, Suzato from the previous one is back in Japan, but she has to act as a lawyer since the main protagonist of the previous game, Uranosuke, is still in Britain, studying law. Alright, sir, I will give my testimony flawlessly. So now we have to find out what we can from this testimony. Forensic medicine primer. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense might know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would try to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget, the student did have a motive for killing the victim. Yo, he has a turtle on his head. Yeah, he was, trying to keep an eye on the scene here. Because he's a police inspector who was undercover at the time, so he had the turtle on his head to try and hide in the water at the beach where this murder occurred. Alright, the man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Did pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes, think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor's ready to provide treatment, that stopper should not be removed. Oh, I see. This is why yokels should stay on the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it. Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so... Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit. Father, is that true, what they're telling me? Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. But then, why would Ray have pulled it out? Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett? I don't know. Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but... could my friend actually have... Suzato, just pull yourself together. Mustn't lose sight of why we're here. Counsel, it's time for cross-examination. Mikutaba reminds the old guy from CSI. It's entirely possible. This game has had a lot of references of Western stuff. Like, the last game had almost every case somewhat reminiscent of something from Sherlock Holmes, for example. Usually in terms of references, and not as in they copied the case, because obviously that wouldn't be as good, since anyone who's read the books or seen the movies would know what happened, but there are neat little references here and there. However, I must warn you that in your if a cross-examination fails to find any issue with the established facts, I'll be moving to my adjudication immediately afterwards. I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard. Forensic medicine primer. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking caused heavy bleeding.
Hold it!
You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean if you use due care and attention it could be alright? I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really. But the blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it, and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation. You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath. Back to witness testimony, please. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an outcome sense ought to know. Might as well press on everything. In that case, there's an obvious explanation here. Which is... clearly, the defendant, Ray, does not present themselves as a sentence. Well, that's, one way to... What do you think about that, Professor Rikitaba? I'm not sure you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense. Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know, young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it. Careful, counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. Oh dear, that regarded me rather badly. That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn. So you can see now, this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Mimbani would absolutely have been aware of it. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim.
Hold it!
The defendant suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. Could have shocked her delicate abilities, causing her to move late currently. I really think actions can explain this. The woman's a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she'd behave so irrationally. But irrational behavior is one's prerogative, isn't it? Oh dear. About women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views. Oh dear, perhaps I'm letting my male persona too much. Well, I imagine conviction should cover the medical side of the argument. Let's not forget to a motive for killing the victim. Whatever the motive, it just isn't in Mimbani-san's nature to do something so awful. But she had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant. And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law. Yeah, evidence is the way to convince the court of your own feelings. With this fledgling defender, I'll say I pity the accused. I finally got my YouTube channel up and been slowly uploading my older VODs. I have the oldest ones I have are from around 2020, and I finally started getting the ones from earlier this year in 2021, so hopefully I'll be able to catch up a bit soon. But yeah, if you want to see my really old stuff, that's definitely a place to go. For example, one for AI is still a favorite. That one's another murder mystery visual novel. I should probably plug myself at the end here. Right now, we've got a case to solve. Slowly over time, but you can stick to newer ones like this game, Twitch, because the previously recorded stuff sticks around for about 2 weeks. So hopefully I can make a good archive of everything once everything's said and done. Alright, with this fledgling defender, I must say, I be accused. So do I. So do I. Inspector, you will reiterate your point of defense motive, please. Yes. This President was a sworn enemy of Unsan. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defense's highly respected mentor.
Hold it!
It's true. Dr. Wilson recognized my son's talents and offered her a position of assistant by being a woman. Grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been very visual. Doctor had no time for outdated traditions. He met with force, but he believed from embodying his son's abilities. It was in the man's which only served to prove my points. Hopeless, I can't find a single crack in this testimony. If Ray knew that withdrawing the knife of the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I can't think of any way to it. No, it's times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals. The court record. Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it? Oh, my auto's cutting out? Oh dear. Oh my, I do have a bunch of frame drops, don't I? Oh, that's weird. It was perfectly fine. Skipping once every 5 seconds, oh dear. If it gets bad, I might call it a bit early then. I started a bit late tonight, either way. I can tell you right now, if this case is as long as the one from, when we started the previous game, I'm not going to do all of it in one night. That would be a 4-hour stream, and I just did one last night when I did the ending for the first game. Maybe I can close a few things to try and fix it. Oh, actually, everything is closed. Oh dear. Yeah, everything is closed. I'm not sure what's causing this. For a stream, those could take a lot out. Yeah, especially since I stream fairly late at night where I am. It's just easy. I just found it easier to go late at night because I work during the day and all that, you know? I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You needn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too. This is your first time playing the role of lawyer in the courtroom. Raise $30 to charity in one stream, promise to 12 hours. Whoa, huh. I've done... that sure sounds like it. One of the streamers I like did a 24-hour stream once, and I will genuinely have no idea how they could do that. That's absolutely crazy. I'm glad to hear you're able to raise some money for a good cause like that. I don't think I have much of an audience for something like that, but I wouldn't be against it if a good opportunity for it came up. Just need to get something that speaks to me, I guess, or something that's relevant, I guess. I can think about that later. Alright, examine the evidence in the court record. That's an idea, certainly. Alright, I know what to do. Alright, come to think of it, Kazuma and Naruhodo were always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yes, I need to examine things in greater detailed space. Ah, by looks in your eyes, I see it's coming back to you. What's on the back here? This is what I've been waiting for. This is the newspaper from Soseki-san. It seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive deadly poison stolen from a medical research laboratory. From Yume's medical research. Father, isn't that your lab? What the? Let me see that. Poison's been stolen? It's this morning paper that Soseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know? As embarrassing as this is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard any such thing. Where on earth could the reporter have gleaned this information? Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning the story in our paper this morning, was there? It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on with the strictest confidence. I put Ray in charge of the project. Hey, who's managing it? If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow. I don't believe it. We need to read this article very carefully. Rockus England returnees tell all. This is an interview with you and Soseki-san, isn't it, Father? Oh, there's a crack in the camera. Looks as though it was quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me in the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. I imagine after this case we'll get to more threatening prosecutors like Baron von Zykes. I still like it. I mean, he might be one of my favorite prosecutors in this series so far, at least. Not to say he's, a great as a person or anything. He is, bluntly, he is racist against the Japanese, which of course doesn't bode well for our very Japanese protagonist. But he cares about the truth to the point even his racism will not make him overlook the truth. Won't affect him, so he's an interesting character to work with. As far as antagonists go, or at least as much as you can consider a prosecuting attorney an antagonist. Stream is evened out a good bit. Alright, that's good to hear. But I'm gonna keep an eye on the frame drops. If it happens again, I may call it a bit early. See how it goes. Alright, go through the court record and have a look at everything. You may just find a clue. Oh, right, this is a separate piece of clue. Separate clue now. Yeah, because this was the newspaper articles here, and then this got separated to another one. Alright, following a lecture at Yume by Soseki Natsume on the 11th, it's come to light a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science was stolen. Even the smallest amount entering the body via mouth or wound from a poison-laced blade could prove fatal in minutes. Current methods could not detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Glad you like the laughing emote, Moni. I'm glad I was able to find a good artist to do those different emotes. I also got a few more, so If I end up getting more emote slots, I believe it goes up the more people subscribe, I can just add more, so I shouldn't need to worry about it anytime soon. I've got a decent backlog if it ever happens. Onset of symptoms occur in minutes, starting with impaired breathing, ending with an acute contraction of pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to be commissioned by the military. Interesting. We take off the pen's lid. Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? There's no ink in here? This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink. Yeah, you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the top there. Is something wrong, Father? Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all. Oh yes, you're right, it's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. I think this is where the poison was held. And let's look at the autopsy report. Yeah, pupil constriction was observed in the victim's eye, so she wasn't killed by the stab wound, she was killed by poison. Unfortunately, this is also going to bode badly for our defendant, because she's one of the few people who would have had access to this. Go to the court record again. Just find a clue. I'll do it straight away. Pulling a blade from a wound, thinking it's heavy bleeding. It's basic knowledge and medical research. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife. Yeah, the pen had the initials RM, which is unfortunately the defendant's. Actually, I can probably do this and they'll tell you. The RM initials are very clearly engraved here, and the fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message too. To identify a killer, you mean? I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case. Yeah, RM is the initials of the... Yeah, exactly, that's why we're a bit worried, because the evidence really does point towards her. Interesting, was the pen...
Objection!
Nope, this isn't it. What about the witness's last statement there? Well, the question is, counsel, what about those wide eyes of yours? Well, alright, I just need to try to remain calm and examine the evidence again. I just remembered, this, highlighting this bird here was actually a living creature, if you remember the case of the last game. So, does that mean when she died, so did her bird? There's no good reason, eh? A poison-laced blade. So it's this one I want.
Objection!
Alright, we got it. No, there was one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. A what? Ha! The yokel not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Plus then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here, in the newspaper article. The article about a deadly poison having been stolen from the laboratory at the...
Objection!
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison is no relevance to the case. Oh, but... Prosecutor Archie, you will let the defense speak. Oh, but a newspaper article, the defendant cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those publications carry. Counsel for the defense? I'm going to need some tangible basis for your claim. Alright, so what page is he's gonna ask what page it's on. Let me check. Page 2. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion. Your Excellency. Yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says... oh, so it's going to the top. Deadly in tiny quantities. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with poison, it is rapidly absorbed and causes death within minutes. Are you suggesting? If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Mbani-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes. The truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body.
Objection!
This is complete and utter nonsense. Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny that possibility. Have you not read the postmortem report? The cause of death was the hemorrhage. Blood poison appears nowhere in the document. Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking...
Objection!
Oh, please, this is clear desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. The poison has nothing to do whatsoever this case. I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information is in this wretched newspaper is at all reliable anyway. In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. Instead, you claim that she suspected poisoning and took a potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense. Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it, yokel? Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds. What? You can't possibly... From your expression, Counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. What do you think of the Arc 5 release on Duel Links? I actually did a stream for the Arc 5 release, but unfortunately I didn't get to do much because while I did get a pack opening early on for the box to about 1.5 full pulls, all free to play by the way, I unfortunately did not unlock the character I needed because you see my Duel Links deck is Yosenju, but I did not unlock Silvio until the day after the stream, so I feel I might have been a bit hasty on that. I have him now at least. But I haven't, unfortunately, I have not farmed the skill he needs for that deck. I'm probably going to be doing some more Duel Links streams when I need a break from this one, or I guess I might do Streets of Rogue either. Either way, something to break the break things up if I feel this is getting a bit much, and I feel like I need a break. But dang, things are pretty... Let's see here. But naturally, to stand in this courtroom, you must be aware. The words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence. Yes. Sorry to keep straying away from the current game. That's alright. It wasn't for too long. Alright, yes, Your Excellency, I'm aware of that. I've seen it many times. Different places aside in the Old Bailey. And honestly, even when I'm watching full, unedited VODs from other streamers I do like, they do sometimes go off topic a bit here and there. It's something I don't really mind. And that's also why I don't edit too much when I post these to YouTube. These are mostly raw VODs, unless it's something like if I change games, I'll usually split it up then. I actually don't have too much editing experience, but luckily there's some decent amount of free video editors that make splitting up or combining VODs a lot easier. Alright, I've seen it many times from my place at his side of the Old Bailey. In this case, Counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? Postmortem Report.
Take that!
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the Postmortem Report, which reads, extreme, pupil constriction was observed in the victim. Ah, clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably, the fact this condition of the victim was noted in the Postmodern Report means that it's an unusual symptom of death. Well, under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes. What are you doing, you yokel detective? Well, in the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with an acute constriction of the pupils prior to death. What? If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed with the back, happened to notice the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely. Yes, as medical research assistant, she would have immediately suspected the poison, without doubt. Prosecutor Archie, I think you'll agree. This is very compelling evidence. You, yokel student, yokel professor! I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions. No. Yujin Mikotaba. Yes, Your Excellency. I do believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in the laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I can't say. Listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads it in the newspaper. I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. Father. A pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students, rather than allowing them off on killing sprees. Now that's totally unfounded. Hold it. It's Ray. Alright. Good night a bit. Alright, see you later, Moni. Yeah. Have a good rest. No, this is Professor Mikotaba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray? Man, body, saw you stand accused here. Outbursts like that will not be tolerated. Oh, but it was me. I was the one who noticed the poison we were developing was stolen that day. What? So you knew. I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was that day the professor and Saseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount, it was. Why didn't you let me know immediately? I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out, because I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course. It was that English woman, Miss Giselle Brett. That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the stateside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. She just sat on a stool in the back of the hut, smiling sweetly as maybe she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well, now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, the moment later, I was seized with fear. So she was sitting... Oh, look! In the middle center, by her seat. There's a convenient hole there for a knife, isn't there? That means whoever the actual murderer is, they got her from behind when she wasn't looking. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints. I don't believe it. In other words, you realize the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison. My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips while I was with her, which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of that knife in her back. And that train of thought is what spurred you to withdraw the blade. Yes, If the amount that entered her bloodstream is small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I'd hoped. Really, I'm sorry for staying silent all this time. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I've duly noted the courage with which you have confessed in the end. Oh, thank you, Excellency. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here. In this courtroom now.
Objection!
Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Membani-san, if that's the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim. Range. Well, you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive. What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it. You'll produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Archie. Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student. What? I'd imagine there would be no need for me to submit this as evidence. But you brought this on yourself. Interesting, but why didn't he have this? What the? Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on that beach is almost palpable. The evidence, this evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment Membani plunged her dagger into the victim's back. No, that's not true. I don't believe it. Ah! Order, order! Counsel of the defense, was it you who was responsible for that actual scream that just pierced my courtroom? Perhaps his voice is yet to break. These yokels are slow-minded, slow to mature. I'll show you slow to mature. Careful now. Suzado's starting to show her face here. It's often said a picture's worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely cognate photographic print as evidence. Yeah, there's no doubt. He didn't want to submit this if he didn't have to, not because it was conclusive, but because it could easily be used against him. I can't believe he had a photograph up like that up his sleeve this entire time. It's such a stark image, I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... who took the photograph?
Objection!
There's no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention.
Objection!
That is an absurd thing to say, it's crucially important. Whoever took this photograph print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. Ah! Okay, that's why, because by submitting this evidence, it would be extremely easy to point out that whoever took this picture would have to logically be a witness, and by extension would need to be on the stand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once. Well, I am afraid I can't do that. Pardon? You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday, but there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of this print is unknown. Goodness. We need to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court? When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment, because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you? Silence, you yokel student and blabbering professor. What matters is, the blatant truth is that this print so eloquently expresses, but the defendant's already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment the knife was plunged in the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn. Don't waste the court's time with your ramblings. Indeed, without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. And the scene captures without a doubt most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear. Oh no. Suzado, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, there can be no doubt. The person who did this has a broken camera, and if you recall, there was also someone else who has a broken camera. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim. Yes, we just need to prove that somehow. You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Akutsi Aoji in the court of law. If I can't determine who took this photograph, the trial's gonna come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it. Well, Consul? Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is, I have the answer. This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal. What? No, you can't possibly. But as you so boldly claim you can, please, do enlighten us. Fortunately, unable to present a name. How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you could? However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals the important details of this photographer's identity. What? Very well then, Counsel. Present your proof to the court. What piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the photographer?
Take that!
What is that, the newspaper again? Roger's England returnee tells all. It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It is the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side. Ah, yes indeed. They've already caught my eye as it happens. Ah, what of it? The shadow of some kind, presumably, on the branch of a tree or the like. There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you. Now, if you look closely at this photograph... Good gracious! Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph too.
Objection!
Well, that tells us nothing. Ha! Yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside of a hut on the beach, Counsel. What's quite remarkable about it is the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired? The curious matching pattern that appears in both photographic prints is a result of a camera defect. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera itself used to take the photographs. With the photographic device? Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched, and that scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear with every print taken with the device. In short, two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera, and therefore the same photographer. Oh, but there must be hundreds of such devices here in the capital. It would definitely be impossible to identify the owner of this particular one. I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Archie, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper is featured in a newspaper article. A newspaper? Ah, that's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime. That's right, newspapers have to credit their sources. I see why you're called, Roja's England returnee. What are you yelling about? You've already testified. It's me. The memo, I tell you, many memo. Many memo. Soseki-san, what was that? Did you say many memo? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the For You News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Raiten Many Memo. Yes, hounding me from the dawn till dusk. Ah, now that he mentions it. So that wasn't just a silly effect before. A secret spy, snapshots, scribbles, stories. Could that same reporter be... A camera to the left of him, notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Raiten Memo. So you're saying that this picture was taken by Memo, yes. My lord, your excellency, Esquire. Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime. Oh, yes, your excellency. As you say, your excellency. And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task, understand? Many no. To be continued. Unfortunately, I got kind of a late start tonight and I'm feeling kind of tired, so I'm going to go ahead and call it here. It's a little shorter than I usually go, but this is a pretty good stopping point, I think. I'll go ahead and save in this slot then. Alright. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Hope you had a good time. Well, actually... You know what? I'm going to keep going a little longer, actually. This is actually a very interesting case I really want to see, but like I said, I may not be able to complete all of it if it's really long. Supreme Court of Judiciary, Defendant's Antechamber 3. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray. I'm gonna need a drink. I've been doing this VN for a while now. I've got some water right here. Okay, that feels a lot better. You have a strong responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I have to retrieve the substance from the English room before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence. That you'd stand by me to the last. I remember. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me to the floor. No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. I'm no better, you know. Oh yeah. Even though in my heart I knew you'd pull the knife blade from Miss Brett's back, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato, I'm so sorry. After I stood there and promised you I'd stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me, too. As such, I failed you as a lawyer. Oh, no. I think the situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task. Yes, Father. That fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Ray, can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. That's adorable chemistry these characters have. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting on the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Or collapsing on the floor in front of me, the knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time. That's right, just Miss Brett and myself. There's no one else. So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that. A great mystery indeed. I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. Oh, you know, this also explains how the newspaper article managed to get information that even the leader of the lab did not know. Because she was confronting, and the paparazzi was behind the whole time. So I couldn't bring myself to speak up. Well, then again, if he's the one who stabbed her from behind, what would his motive be? Alright, it'll be alright. However, it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you, I'm going to prove everything you just said is true. Spoken like a true Mikotaba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order. Yes, I expect the poison's gonna come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory-synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see. Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin. Chemical reagent? I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to the police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case. That's right, there could be more. A special indicator solution for a new poison under development on my father's team. It's been created in strict secrecy and exists only in my father's laboratory. This is going to be a secret weapon, I imagine. More specifically, I imagine that there's going to be poison on... that is poison on the blade that should not be there. The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know. It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid. Couldn't you just have written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it. German is the international language of medicine, my dear. But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. What's the matter, Suzato? You're suddenly quiet. It's this newspaper article, Exclusive, Deadly Poison Stolen from UMA Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out. Yeah, that's just what I was thinking of myself, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. It was when the professor and Soseki were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swanned in without any function and said to Professor Mikotaba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on that substance there." It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Soseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction. So then, Soseki-san knew about the poison. Yes, and it's highly likely the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught the glimpse of the toxin as well. This Minimemo-san. By the way, did that reporter join you all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there. Oh? A known criminal has been given permission by the authorities to bathe in the seaside. Soseki-san pointed out that inviting the reporter could be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yet obviously he didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And then presumably posted it anonymously to the police. Ah. Yes, that must be what happened. Counsel, we've just heard the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial's about to resume. Please proceed to the courtroom at once. It is time to steel ourselves once again, then. Defense attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo. Yes. Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day. Yeah, this case is really getting interesting. I'm pretty much sure... I still doubt I'm going to finish, though. I'll probably end up falling asleep before it happens, and that means I'm going to have a lot less powers of deduction, that's for sure. Courtroom. Hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Miss Ray Mimbani. Prosecutor Archie, have you summoned the new witness? Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. Oh? What news? And why does he look so happy about it? During the recess with the collaboration of Professor Mikotaba's laboratory at Yume University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had the reagent delivered to police headquarters by the rickshaw, so it should be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves the inevitable. And, counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along the blade. What, are you sure about that? I would stake the reputation of the police on it. Armed with a reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. We finally have the murder weapon in our care. In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Ah yes, this must be the victim's blood. Oh dear, blood is never a pretty sight, is it? I'm having to fight the urge to run under a hot tap and get it clean. You've always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you? I think this is something else, Father. Ah! Now, the prosecution's ready to call the new witness. Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well, officer, bring in the witness. No trace of poison on the knife, but if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body? Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Write-in memo of the Shoyu News. I'm what people like to call a journalist. What's a journo, Father, do you know? It's simply a contraction of journalist. I'm when the news breaks, putting pen to paper and catch those scoops that are in the print next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. I'm a nice guy of news. Oh, so, it was you who took this photograph, was it? Oh, well, what have we here? I'm sorry? Ooh, brace yourselves, people. Minimo senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play, defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in the Supreme Court. The readers will have this up. We'll have to set it above the fold of the 72.8 in a 5-leg format for the morning edition. Huh? Right then, let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryutaro Naruto. Next, what made you want to become a lawyer? Well, I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryutaro suddenly become very ambitious, I see. I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while. Oh, by the way, my name is, Takatsuchi Aochi. Yeah, that's, Takatsuchi Aochi. The so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness? Yes. What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for taking this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't be a journalist if I didn't click quick when presented with a quick scoop like that, now would I? Sometimes stories call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down, but either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with, a fast hand to write with, and no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call... Many-memoism. Many-memoism? Ah yes, I remember your face. We met the day you were interviewing myself and Saseki-san. Oh yes, right, that was me. Yeah, many-memo again. But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoryu News office after our meeting. But the scoop is, I didn't. Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest. Miss Brett's words? A criminal left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen? It's horse dung. This country's judiciary system is rotten to the core. Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said on my memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. A serious criminal on Junket? People should need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after them. to get that woman's story so I could hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? That grim scene portrayed in this photograph? Oh yes, I saw it with my own eyes, from the start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, many members. You will now give formal testimony before the court. You'll state exactly what it is you witnessed to the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. Witness testimony. The camera never lies. The beach hut was made of a shoddy old reed screen, so there were plenty of gaps I could see through. The English woman sitting on a stool when the student girl came and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor and stabbed her in the back. My smoldering spirit burst into flames, quick as a flash. I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Reed screens, you say? Right, you can see them clearly enough in this great shot I snapped. The hut walls are just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing as it was hotting up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it, the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens. Lucky for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart, thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it? Would I be seen? That's the gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's many memoirs in a nutshell. At last, it would appear we have genuine witness to this wicked crime, and the evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No. Oh, wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied. This testimony begs one large question. What question? Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then, was the story never published? That's right. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. More pathetic excuses. Will and counsel proceed with her cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more of this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. Cross-examination. Why did I think that those faces have showed up during the witness testimony part and not the cross-examination part when they actually show up? Guess I am getting tired. The beach hut was made of reeds, so there's plenty of gaps. Alright, what made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place? Call it journalistic instinct. Can you think of a better reason? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because, as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman? I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. Oh, he's painting this journalist as a voyeur. It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera when you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge. Yeah, that's a good point. Nope, you've got it all wrong, little student boy. I'm sorry. To my mind, all that was inside that hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. And scoops know no gender, man or woman, it's all news. That's not even mini-emoism, that's basic journalism. Only the courtroom is indiscriminate. Right, so if that's all buttoned up, can we move on? Tell the court then, witness, what sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut? A sight that vindicated my journalistic instinct, that's what. I then pulled back the reeds, all I could see was clear as day.
Hold it!
So you actually saw Membani-san entering the hut. Yep, and she was raging. Raging like my journalistic spirit. And the argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it, I didn't steal it. That kind of thing. Talking about the poison, I suppose. That student girl walked right up to the Englishwoman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she laid into her anymore, there would have been eggs. That man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. The student's rantings fell on deaf ears like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time. He really ought to work on his smiles first, though, to be honest. Anyways, the point is, the woman in the dock was mighty angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film. Seconds later, pull out a knife. Push him on the floor, stabbing him back. I do swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment the stabbing took place. Ha! Precise moment? I didn't just see that, I saw the whole hellish scene play out. Play it from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right you are. It's right here in my memo pad. You see, when I first appeared in the hut, I'm sure the Englishwoman was on the stool at the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirms that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly. This is what I have noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Then, the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. And in a flash, plunged a knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. Wouldn't that technically be a self-defense case then if she tried to attack first? No, it wouldn't be, because that only works if, if Miss Brett was actually trying to kill the defendant, which we have no proof of. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what many-memoism is. Yeah, especially when you're the one concocting the truth yourself. By the way, Many-Memo-san, while you were watching that terrifying scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, it did not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film. Journalists have to be observers. We can't get involved. That is our recommendation. So you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. And that's something to be proud of, is it? Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor? I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony. Father, what are you? I will grant the defense's request. Many-Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement. Well, nihilism is the foundation of Many-Memoism, but I'll gladly prove my words aren't meaningless.
Hold it!
Alright, but two women inside didn't notice you parting the reeds. Obviously not. If they had, where would I be right now? In jail, that's where. Which you think would make you reflect on what you were doing. Nope, a journalist's job is to collect all the snippets of life as unobtrusively as possible. Leave nothing but footprints. Take nothing but photos. Yes, that's spot on. Did you just make that up? The point is, the witness risked life and limb to obtain this photograph, and this photograph reveals the whole truth. There's nothing more to be said. I never once set foot in the hut nor spoke to the Englishwoman, only an observer. Alright, so really, you said you never stepped foot in that hut at all. Are you quite sure about that? I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves were stretched to the aching point already. Oh, I see. You were scared. I did have the wrong impression of you, yes. Here's all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap that shot. I'm not sure we could argue there's 3 sets of footprints in here. You really should have summoned help before thinking with your camera. Minimalism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time in those instances, memoism comes out on top. Huh. As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art. Yes, it's spot on. Surely he's making all this up. He claims to have spied on the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating. But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it? If that's how you feel, I suggest you trust your instincts and press him on everything he said, as you've no doubt seen many times before. In your role as judicial assistant, yes, I have. I've seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do.
Objection!
This article should prove he couldn't have done that. Witness's statement is definitely contradicted by this piece of evidence. Is that so, counsel? Then perhaps you could care to explain the court precisely exactly how? How? Well, definitively? Contradiction lies in your apparent eagerness to present an empty argument, I feel. Perhaps I need to reconsider. I imagine this evidence is going to be important in some fashion.
Hold it!
Might as well press one. I didn't realize I missed this one. The court is fully aware of your desire to capture the incident on film, I'm sure, but why then did you choose to post the photograph anonymously to the police? I'm afraid I don't understand a word that's coming out of your mouth. I'm asking why, as a journalist, you decided not to make a story out of the incident. Think of me as a sculptor who makes art out of the sordid, private details of other people's lives. I never discuss my own personal life out of principle. I mean, that's basic minimalism. That's not something to boast about. No doubt your burning desire to see the truth exposed and justice was done was motivated you. That's it. That's brilliant. My burning desire to see something rather exposed. There has to be a good reason why he didn't think to write an article about what he saw, though. By your own admission, you were outside the hut. How then did you manage to take the photograph? Ah, yes, I'm glad you asked. Wait.
Objection!
The RM, those could be his initials. What were the witness's last statement there? Well, the question is, counsel. Darn it. I know this is the statement I need to bring out. can I prove the footprints are his? Not sure.
Hold it!
Need to prove he had some kind of contact with her. And everything that appears to be here appears to be in order. Yeah, everything here matches up.
Objection!
Nope, that's not right. I must reject the witness's last statement, and the evidence you've thrust in my direction is supposed to prove your point. I apologize, I did present it rather more forcefully than I intended to. Do kindly refrain from these over-exuberant outbursts, Counsel. Be they verbal or material. You'll put me in my place there.
Objection!
Nope, that's... Oh, whoops. I accidentally hit the wrong one. Excellent, I jumped the witnesses. A journalist for the Shoryu News who's currently following Soseki everywhere, recording his every move. As a result, he's an eyewitness to the incident. I can't just be guessing.
Hold it!
The fact he has the ink on his hand is likely going to be an important clue to this.
it!
I really can't be guessing at this point. I only have one left, and I guess I'm so tired I can't even answer this properly. How strange. It feels like the first case of the last game was the hardest, was potentially the hardest one, and this one's also proving to be a nightmare. I feel like this should be really obvious, and somehow I'm not getting it. Maybe I should have called it back there. It's a little late now, unfortunately. Newspaper article, the debate came quite spirited. Case named my father's responsible, nothing of the incident.
Objection!
Gonna have to load the autosave here then. Alright. How embarrassing. I'm stuck on the first case. I haven't gotten any sleep because you guys don't think about grilled cheese. crap, I'm probably gonna have to get something to eat after this myself. Not because of anything in particular, I'm just feeling hungry, I guess. Stuck on this puzzle. I'm sure it's really obvious and I'm just missing it, I guess, because this would not be the first time. Sometimes I overthink things and end up in a weird spot.
Hold it!
Really, you didn't see inside the hut. Alright, so we can stat. This was added to his testimony, so this has to be the thing I have to catch a contradiction on. Try to help. Alright, well, I guess I can go through his testimony real quick, not just for you, but also for myself to refresh it. Alright, the beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens. There are plenty of gaps I could see through. The English woman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journalist spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. I never once set foot inside the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was only there as an observer. Now, this part here is what I managed to get him to add to his testimony when I pressed him to clarify some details, which generally means that this is important because they don't generally let you add stuff to the testimony if it doesn't become important somehow. So we have to prove that he somehow either stepped foot into the hut or spoke with the victim. And this was what he used to show. Haven't even following? I haven't either, and I'm kind of confused. Honestly, this case is a lot harder than the last ones. I'm not sure why. I mean, the final case of the previous game in this compilation was mostly difficult because the witnesses I were up against were smart and knew not to give away any details, and so I had to find ways to get them to slip details, or otherwise find something that would force them to come forward. However, this guy isn't nearly as reserved. He's loving to talk about how he was supposedly observing from outside and yet somehow came across this information, so I'm not sure. Alright, take off the lid of the pen. Now let's unscrew the barrel. And I believe this is where the poison was being hidden. This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink. Yes, you fill it by drawing the bottle up from the top. Something wrong, Father? It's just there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in here. Yeah, there was poison stolen from the research lab, and I'm pretty sure this is how it was smuggled out. This is really rough. Maybe I'm too tired to be doing too much deduction right now. But I should at least solve this puzzle, I think. But this seems to be the final witness to the murder, so we need to be able to clear out his testimony before we can work out anything else. The beach was empty aside from him and the other witnesses, and we already cleared out the other witnesses since we know they didn't actually see the time of the stabbing. Yeah, if you can't figure anything out, just going past the end here usually has them give you a clue, but this clue is to press him for details, which implies to me that the part that was just added should be the more obvious part to go with. Yeah, I should be able to figure it out. That's a bit why I'm embarrassed I haven't. Let's see here. This article only proves that he spoke with the professor and the author. He doesn't prove he spoke with her directly. Now the RM here, this does match his initials, but we don't have proof of that. It always feels more stressful on stream. It's possible, yeah. Especially since I do sometimes make weird mistakes. I think they call it stream blindness or something. Weird that they're not elaborating on this, because I can't be at present in order to look at the people, so here we are. Yeah. The RM on the pen does imply it could be Ray Membani, but it could also be Raitin Minimemo, as you can see. Actually, why isn't this a good option to present to him? Hello, Infinity. This one's actually got me good. But I think I already presented the pen once. The Swan Chick is back. Yes, she is Infinity, but you see, she's the murder victim. Sadly, apparently her bird also died because... Yeah, remember from the last game, the bird was clearly alive when we were cross-examining her, so apparently the murderers somehow managed to kill both her and her beloved bird.
Objection!
Oh, come on, how does this not work? I mean, there should be something obvious here. This is obvious. I pressed him before and he added this statement to his testimony that he was never there and never spoke with her. So we need evidence that he's lying, or evidence that can't be the case. But where? I genuinely don't know. We have the murder weapon, but we don't have much to examine. There's nothing on it. We even found out there's not even any poison, weirdly enough. I did also get this new evidence, though. Maybe I could try that?
Objection!
Nope, that's not it. I'm really just guessing at this point. I need to stop doing this. I need to do this here. So what proves that this is a lie? Yeah, I've already been through these. Yeah, this is just where she accused him of being a voyeurist, since, you know, he was technically spying on a hut with 2 young women in there. I at least want to solve this puzzle before I call the stream for tonight, but, which one? What can I do? What can I do? We know he took this photo. The crack in the camera here shows that he, did make the photo, but, in the center top here, you can kind of see a hole in the reeds. That could have been where he put the camera, or the knife for that matter.
Objection!
Nope, that's not right. The knife could easily be put through the reeds, but this isn't the part where I'm supposed to point that out, I guess. I can get the general idea where it wants me to go, but I can't seem to figure out the exact. This photo's taken by the police, so it's not here. I already tried, but no, you can't prove this. His footprints were among the group of footprints here, so no direction there. This is just the autopsy report, well, postmodern report, since they didn't have the technology for a proper autopsy. This just shows that she might have been poisoned or knifed. This just proves he spoke with those 2 before. The fountain pen I thought was where it was going, but evidently not. This poison article was also one I tried at first, but no, that's not right. Even though this is weird, because like it says here, even the professor who was responsible for the lab knew nothing about a thievery going on at the university. Incriminating photograph. Chemical reagent. This is just for testing to see if the poison exists. This is the murder weapon. We found it has no poison on it somehow, and this is just the plan for the beach hut. None of these seem to be a smoking gun of any kind that showed that he was there. What am I missing here? Dang, that Princess Leia hair in triplets over there, isn't it? Judging by the direction, the camera should be from around where her feet are pointing, actually. There's a door. In front of the hut, yes, there's a door. Yeah, the door is where the this photo was taken. What about the other one? There's only one door inside the hut. It was just one of those beach huts where people go into to change or get out of the sun for a bit. It was not anything complex, as you can see. Yeah, as you can see, there's not much in here. Place for drinks, the seat where she was sitting, some of her belongings. Yeah, here's the crime scene photograph as well. What's weird is the body was moved. It shouldn't have, no. We don't see any obvious sign the body was moved. I already presented this photograph here because I thought maybe the footprints could be proven to be his, but no. But I think that's me overthinking things again. It should be very simple. Basically, this is what he's claiming the victim and culprit, the positions of the victim and the culprit within the little hut there. And as you can see, the whole thing matches up with what we have there. I mean, the table with drinks, the chair she was sitting on, belongings, the door. I genuinely don't know. This should be obvious, but like I said, this is the first case of the second game, so, and it's supposed to be designed to catch people who might have missed the first part, because we even had a recap on what happened. But weird, nothing of these. Yeah, when I was pressing mini memo here for more information, he added this statement on the screen right now, as well as this beach hut plan into the evidence, which usually indicates they're going to be needed soon. Yeah, that's where he got this incriminating photograph. He parted the reeds here to get the photograph. But what? Dang, what is this here?
Objection!
Nope, that's not it. Weird. It's rare they'd add a statement like this to testimony and not have it relevant and not have it be the thing I present something at, but that seems to be the case, and I should probably load here because I only have one try left and I can guarantee you I'm not getting it. The autosave is a rather nice feature.
Hold it!
What am I missing? What am I missing? Answer the obvious question. I cannot use one piece of evidence on another piece of evidence, so I can't use the chemical reagent to test various items here to see if the poison exists. At least not until the story does it for me.
Hold it!
Yeah, he's just recounting the fight they had, which is something that did happen, but... I think I might be too tired to figure this out. I have the feeling this is supposed to be really, really obvious, but I can't seem to think of it.
Hold it!
Let's just pause everything real quick. I should be able to speed through anything that I've already done, so I'll see if I missed anything by accident here. I don't think that's the case, but let's see.
Hold it! Hold it!
Alright. Alright, here's what happened. Let's go over this again. When I first appeared in the hut, I'm sure that Englishwoman was on the stool in the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirms that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, as I've noted down. It's my turn to testify now, try not to interrupt. Then, the next moment, when I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, angry. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The English woman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. And a flash plunged a knife into her victim. Into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. We described as a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what many memoism says.
Hold it! Hold it!
Yeah, I've pressed him on absolutely everything. So I have absolutely no clue what,
Hold it!
I've gone through all this. Yeah, the clue just tells me to press him, which I did and got the extra bit of information, as well as the extra clue, but... do I have to get him to tell me where he was? No, I don't. Nope. Am I missing? What am I missing? The magnifying glass just seems to be for fluff, because it doesn't seem to... There's never been a time where I've need to actually use it to zoom in on something. Which is a shame, because I thought maybe since she was sitting on the stool, this gap here might be where the knife went to her back. You know what I mean? But it seems that doesn't appear to be something we can prove yet, because I already tried to present this evidence. And her personal belongings don't have anything noteworthy. Pretty sure I've tried everything at this point. Nothing in here is helpful. Dang, what is this? How can I prove that he was in there?
Objection!
Nope, no, that's not it then. What am I missing? Darn it. I want to at least solve this puzzle before I call it quits for the night, but this is rather frustrating. I pressed him on everything. I got everything I can out of this, so what's next?
Objection!
No, I can't ask him to specify where he was supposed to be standing.
Objection!
Nope, it can't bring out the position. Yeah, I'm just guessing at this point, that's not good. Time says I've been on this puzzle for almost 40 minutes. I think I should just call it a night then. Clearly I'm too tired to properly function here. Alright. Sorry to end on an unsatisfactory note, but apparently I'm just too tired to do any deduction. Oh, sorry everyone. Alright, well, next time I should be able to solve the puzzle. I'll think about it. Maybe sleeping on it, come back when I'm rested, see how that goes. Alright, until next time, thank you for watching, hope you had a good time. You can go to my About page to check out my YouTube channel if you want to check some of my older VODs, or if you want some of my newer ones. I save them as long as Twitch allows. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.